Here to set the scene is Maureen Callahan, voice of Australia and host of The Nerve. Maureen, how are you?
I'm well, Piers. I'm so happy to be back with you for this incredibly important conversation. There's a lot of damage being done.
So let's talk about the damage. Look, from where I sit, what you have is an extraordinary situation where two people who have caused intense damage to the reputation of the royal family and the institution of the monarchy are now running a kind of renegade rival royal family, engaging in rival tours and going to places like Australia. And that can only be ultimately more damaging for the actual royal family.
Agreed. And we're watching these two do exactly what they said they didn't want to do. This is why they left the royal family, correct? This is the scene of the original crime in which Meghan Markle, I believe it was very early on in their marriage, she and Harry went on their Australia tour, their inaugural, and she reportedly said, "I cannot believe I'm not getting paid for this." This is also the site of her allegedly, reportedly throwing a very hot cup of tea on a senior aide in a moment of grave displeasure. They are now back there. This is what I truly love. They're there because they can't get work anywhere else. Netflix has dumped them. Spotify and Lemonada have dumped Meghan. The coffers have dried up. They are in Australia, where I am told reliably by many Australian audience members of The Nerve, they are not wanted. There is a petition that is up to at least 45,000 signatures demanding that the Australian government spend not one iota of their tax money protecting these two. I have heard from people who have tried to sign up to Meghan's girls' retreat, which is coming up the weekend after this one, and you're made to fill out a form in which you must disclose your age. These are people who want to pay to go. And I had one woman write to me and say, I had to put my age in. My age is 63. I knew that minute I would be declined. There are still tickets available. They can't sell out this. It's a 300-person venue. She can't sell out 300 seats.
What should be done about them, do you think, from your perspective?
I mean, I've been banging this drum for quite some time on The Nerve with you, with people like Lady Colin Campbell. The titles need to be stripped. It needs to happen. And I from everything I'm told, William is all for just cutting the cord, cutting them out. And it's Charles who is the soft touch, who is very, very reluctant to do so.
But we now have precedent with Andrew, Mountbatten Windsor, who was Prince Andrew, who is the King's brother. He's had everything stripped. And to date, he's not been convicted of any crime. He certainly hasn't been out there attacking the royal family, attacking the monarchy on a global stage. His offence, the reason he's had all his titles removed, was because he basically lied about a friendship with a convicted paedophile. You know, it's very easy, I would argue, to construct an argument. Once you set a precedent for removing titles from people that bring dishonour to the royal family and the monarchy, well, why wouldn't you do the same to Harry and Meghan? Let them go and be what the Spotify executive called them, a pair of effing grifters. If they want to go and make a ton of money, you know, out of being Harry and Meghan, fine. But to do it under the guise of titles bestowed by the royal family and monarchy, which they have spent years trashing, I think is unacceptable.
I couldn't agree with you more. And, you know, Andrew, I would argue, should have had his titles stripped long ago. It wasn't just that he was friends with a pedophile. It was that he was reportedly, allegedly engaged in sexual activity with girls who had been trafficked, who were made to have sex with Andrew against their will. Fergie is now persona non grata. The last I heard, she's in the Middle East. Trying, you know, this is the trajectory. I'm not comparing Harry and Meghan to Andrew having been friends with a known pedophile, but what they are doing is absolutely pretending to be royals, executing royal duties on a royal tour. The visit to the Children's Hospital, highly publicized. That's Meghan ripping something right out of Diana's playbook. Serving homeless women the other day, wearing Diana's $26,000 Cartier watch, wearing a Christian Dior tailored suit. the recording that we got out of it wasn't Meghan giving to these homeless women. What we saw, at least in my algorithm, was a homeless woman off cam, because we cannot have the dispossessed next to one Meghan Markle befouling her frame, saying to Meghan, "Oh, you look like a supermodel. You're so beautiful." You know, it's all about the servicing of this ego that is boundless, it will never, ever be filled. And in the United States, what we saw most recently, before these two decamped to Australia, my sources tell me that Meghan invited herself to a private party hosted by Netflix, attended by Ted Sarandos, head of Netflix, and his wife. It was an event for Carey Mulligan, the esteemed British actress. The dress code was black and white. Carey was the only one who was going to be dressed in a very specific color green. And what did Meghan do? Sharp elbowed her way in, wearing the same color gown as the guest of honor.
Shocking. Maureen, final question. The king of my country and his queen are coming to the United States. They're spending 4 days there. King Charles will address Congress. They're going to go to New York. I'm going to be there actually when they're there. It's going to be a big deal. There's only been one other monarch who's gone to address Congress in history, and that was his mother, Queen Elizabeth, in the early 90s. What's the mood about King Charles and Queen Camilla?
The mood in America is we have great sympathy for Charles, especially given his health struggles. But there is a hunger here for the generational change, the youth and glamour, the discipline and rigor that William and Catherine represent. So I think Charles and Camilla will be received very warmly with open arms, yet I think that we are coming to the point where there is a hunger on both sides of the Atlantic for a change.
And there's no sentiment as we approach the 250th anniversary of your independence in America that you made a terrible mistake and you'd like to invite us to come back and rule you again?
Oh, as King George sang in Hamilton, this is the breakup you'll regret.
Yes.
You'll be coming back to me. No. Yeah, no. It is quite remarkable, isn't it? In human history, it's the blink of an eye, you know, and yet America and Britain, it is the special relationship that is deeply valued. And that is why the actions of Harry and Meghan elicit such revulsion in America, because of our great affection for Britain and the royals.
You know, if it hadn't been for mad King George, you could have had King Piers. No, Maureen?
Would that it were so, Piers.
Maureen, great to have you back. Love your show, The Nerve. More power to you.
Thank you so much.
Look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.